What's up, everybody, and welcome to MSI Cooldown. After the first day of the Rumble stage, still here alongside Chronicler and Emily Rand to wrap up the day. T1 in the sixth and final game of the day. They get one on the board, a little bit of a rebound from taking that loss to G2 at the top of the day. So it's good to see them do that. I just wanted to take a look at one team fight from this game before we do a kind of our holistic recap. And Chronicler, I'll hand it to you because there's actually things on both sides of this team fight that we wanted to talk about.
And for me, what I saw here was the T1 that, and I want to take credit away from G2 because they were very much the better team. They were the deserved winner tonight. But there was also a lot of uncharacteristic disjointedness that we saw from T1 earlier in the day. And that was... There were some individual snafus here on left and right in this game, but overall they looked a lot more cohesive, and that is something that within the LCK we've given them a lot of credit for, so seeing that come back in this final game was quite nice. And
then by contrast, there you saw a really great engage from Kaiwing, who had a couple in this game. Just a player that I wanted to highlight because he has been around for so long in that bot lane with Unified, and I think he is a really, really good support player, and I also think if the wallet diff isn't so large there, maybe that team fight goes a different way. So like kind of a minor thing for PSG in a game where they got absolutely smashed. Let's just be real.
Right, but that's all. But honestly, expected as well, right? And so that's the thing. So you're going to look at kind of those small positive takeaways for that squad in a game that they expected to lose. They still come out the day sharing the same record of 1-1, and so already a solid start to the Rumble stage for PSG. As we talk about how those two teams finished out, we should take a look at the schedule, or rather the standings for the rest of the day. It's G2 who sits alone atop the table at 2-0. A whole bunch of teams, 4 of them right there: PSG, RNG, EG, and T1, all at 1-1 before the Saigon Buffaloes round things out at 0-2.
RNG and T1 suck, clearly. The only appropriate response. And, no, I'm not going to take credit away from G2 because they have showcased that, one, which was kind of expected, they are able to match both RNG and T1 in terms of kind of like raw mechanical level. But then secondly, they seem to have by far the best read on the current meta. And we already saw some adaptations. We saw EG do like a kind of light version of the draft that G2 used to beat T1. And I'm expecting that to continue as we go further and further into the Rumble stage. And it makes everything much more exciting because in a lot of people's mind included, I was like, T1 coasts the first, RNG coasts the second, and then maybe we see some skirmishing, but now everything's up in the air.
Yeah, and I think the thing I really want to shout out for G2 are two things. The first is that when I expected to see them beat T1, it was going to be through like super heavy mid-jungle prio, but early, right? Like, so basically tracking what T1 want to do on the timers that I previously mentioned that they like to play around. But instead they came out with this Diana Yasuo, and they got set back early several times before their comp came online, and they were able to out team fight, which I thought was really, really impressive. And then in both of their wins, again, piggybacking on what Dylan, their coach, said, shout out to both FLICKR and Targamas, who have really, really stepped up in their playoff run, but then now on the international stage are, you know, proving their worth against the best players in the world. I think that's absolutely great.
Yeah, that first game of the day, coming back from a 5K deficit at 15 minutes, yes, their composition was oriented towards the late game. You got to survive to that point, and they did just that. That's something to be lauded. The second game as well against RNG, very different style, very different approach to still come away with the win. And ultimately, if I'm going to play the game of overreactions to a degree, it is like not only are they 2-0, but they are 2-0 against the toughest schedule you could possibly have had on day one, and so that's where you start to go crazy, you know, as an EU fan, and just say, you know, lock it up undefeated through the groups.
Because there would have been possible scenarios where we saw G2 go 0-2 and EU fans still be happy, right? Like say that they got beaten by both G2 and or by T1 and by RNG, but they looked really competitive and it was really close back and forth matches. Then it would still have been a good day, but instead they smashed both teams. And what is even more interesting to me is that I'd still say that T1, when it comes to like early game looks the strongest, but then we have all three top teams look very different in how they play.
And that's the thing, right, is we could talk about the 2-0 all day. We also have to talk about those 1-1s, and that's where, similarly, when I look at the fact that, okay, T1 and RNG took losses today, again, they're against G2. So that's where I'm going to afford you, the most space to take that loss and still come out the group in 1, 2, or 3 position.
Yeah, and then for the rest of the group, you mentioned those 1-1 teams, but like we were also looking at, okay, if we say G2, T1, RNG are definitely like the top 3 teams, then we're looking at who's going to make that 4th spot. And, we talked about Saigon Buffalo coming in being like, okay, single games, they have a lot of surprise potential. Jordan mentioned on cast, he thought they were the most dangerous team because of how aggressively they play, because they're so willing to take these fights. But they're down 0-2 now, which is really, really important for PSG and EG looking at that spot and being like, okay, this is where our window is.
Absolutely. But if we still take Lyric at his word, right? The 2 teams that have to be concerned tomorrow then are T1 and G2 going up against Saigon Buffalo. You don't want to drop a game in a trap game situation, right?
I think that tomorrow, the first half, is a lot of rematches that we've seen, and I don't expect those matchups to
really go any differently.
I don't see T1 now suddenly drop against Buffalo when they clearly shown that they know how to deal with them.
Their mental's destroyed. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, completely boomed. But that second half of the day is looking incredible, especially with what we've seen today.
Yeah, PSG versus Evil Geniuses, maybe one that people wouldn't have called out initially, but particularly because of that PSG win today, and again, just that conversation about the, the race for the knockout stage, that one's going to be incredibly impactful. And then game number 5. Ooh. Again, 2 of the tournament favorites coming into this entire endeavor, both sitting at 1-1. Expecting, wins earlier in the day. We'll see which one of them can create separation, between them in just tomorrow's game. So we're actually, all 3 of us aren't on the show tomorrow. Do you guys want to make any predictions?
Yeah.
Since it'll be a different crew up here?
No.
No, Emily does not. Emily wants to do more VOD review.
Come on, Emily.
Come on, give me something wild.
Okay, everyone.
Well, okay, how about this? How about this? What will be the surprise?
Is actually, like, honestly, giant question mark to me.
No, come on.
Giant question mark?
No.
No?
Okay.
Okay, I think I agree with you. All 3 games go to chalk tomorrow at the beginning of the day. So it's G2 over EG, it's RNG over PSG, it's T1 over Saigon Buffalo.
Yeah.
I do think that EG will beat PSG tomorrow. I think that T1 will beat RNG. Oh, man, that's not
hard.
fun. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I think T1 will beat RNG, and then obviously I believe that G2 will beat Saigon Buffalo.
Yeah.
That 5th game, I think, is obviously the toughest one to call.
My expectation for RNG and T1 would be the 1-1. So I'd expect whichever team to win tomorrow to lose the next one. So, it's just if you get it tomorrow, don't get overexcited.
All right, so you're making the point that it's irrelevant who wins tomorrow because they'll just trade it back the next time they meet. Okay.
Yeah.
Very
brave answer.
You're
day 1 of the Rumble stage.
Us, like the 2 analysts that are just like, no, we'll talk about the games after.
Right, okay, fair enough. Well, then we'll be back the following day, and we'll get to recap everything that we saw the day before. All right, well, there it is. That's a wrap for day 1 of the MSI 2022 Rumble stage. But tomorrow, we'll start off the day with another amazing clash between NA and EU, so make sure you don't miss it. We have to wonder, is it going to be the full best-of-5 5-game sweep for G2 Esports, or will EG have an opportunity to strike back? All that said, we're going to shut down the studio for the night, go get some rest, and we'll be back tomorrow. We hope you do the same. Catch you later.
I don't have a pen to
Peace
throw.
out. No pen to throw. We're in a different country, and I don't know
what to do.
I don't know how much their lens costs
compared
to our lens.
I was like ready to throw, actually.
They're turning the lights off on us.